name is Shara Kingston. I'm the collections manager for the Army Museum. And I brought in the Blois family memorial crosses.
Through orders, decorations, and medals, Canada maintains a complex system of military service recognition, honouring the immeasurable sacrifices and commendable efforts of its servicemen and women. All Canadian soldiers who have died directly or indirectly in relation to their service receive the Memorial Cross, often called the Silver Cross. It was instituted in 1919 and is presented to mothers of loved ones of the deceased. These medals are deeply personal and often passed through generations as a token of remembrance. While all military decorations are awarded on behalf of the Canadian head of state, the gratitude they represent, like that of the Memorial Cross, is shared by the entire nation.
So Shara, welcome to the Militaria. And could you tell us what you brought in today from the Army Museum?
Absolutely. So I brought in a medal grouping that belongs to Lieutenant Colonel Arthur Osborne Blois, a photograph of him with his son, as well as 2 memorial crosses and Blois' identification bracelet.
So Shara, this group here, Colonel Blois' medals, the first one was the Distinguished Service Order that he received for conspicuous gallantry in the field during the First World War. Because of his rank, the only gallantry medals that he could have received are the Distinguished Service Order and the Victoria Cross, as well as, and we'll get to it a couple of medals down, the Mention in Dispatches, which is also for conspicuous service. He then has the British War Medal from the First World War, the Inter-Allied Victory Medal from the First World War with the Mention in Dispatches. And I have to point this out, we received this medal group like this. The 4th medal on there is his wife's medal for her French class in high school in Halifax. So how did the museum acquire these items?
So interestingly enough, they've come in 2 different lots. They've come to us in 2 different years, but by the same person. So the person lives in New Hampshire, and the Blois family that we're speaking of, they ran out of their ancestry line. And the daughter, who never married and didn't have kids, she passed it to a family friend who was close with them. And that person who lives in New Hampshire really didn't know what to do with these items and sent them along to us in the mail. This first thing came through the mail. And then later this summer, he came up to do a little visit. And when he came, he brought the memorial crosses and the photograph.
So Shara, the interesting thing about this group, at least to me, is not so much the outstanding valor that Colonel Blois displayed while serving with the 25th Battalion, is the fact of the mother's story, I believe, his wife and the mother to his son. And the photo there is during the First World War of him and his son. And the letters that he wrote, the letters that the mother wrote, and the connection altogether. I was wondering if you could delve into that a bit for us, please.
Absolutely. Yeah, this really is a story of family, tragedy, sadness, but also heart. So, as we said, Colonel Blois served in the First World War. This is him in his uniform with his young son, Kenneth, on his lap. So before he left to go serve with the 25th, he wrote a letter to Kenneth to be opened on his 16th birthday. Kenneth was just a babe. And he writes this letter, and it basically says, if something should happen to me, you will now be the man of the family. I need you to take care of your sisters and your mother. You have to protect them. You have to help them. This is your job. Now, Dad did come home. Dad came home. He had been gassed and he had been wounded at Vimy. So he came home physically broken. He died in 1926.
So with Lieutenant Colonel Blois and his gallantry in the First World War, I think it's interesting to look at that more than once he took over command of the 25th Battalion. And we believe that his mention in dispatch was for taking over command of the battalion during the attack on Vimy Ridge when the commanding officer was killed. But that was also the circumstances for his being awarded the Distinguished Service Order. It was, again, he was wounded, commanding officer is killed, he takes over command. So I believe that that's just a wonderful story on this man's leadership. I'm wounded, you know, if you wanted to, you could just go, yeah, I'm wounded, sorry, this isn't my problem anymore, I'm going to go off. But that's not the way that a lot of people during that time thought. It was, you know, I'm here, I'm serving the country, we have a mission to accomplish, and I'm going until I can't go any further. And, you know, in more than one case, he did this. What are your plans to get these up to snuff? I look at the metal group and I see glue seeping through, and they don't look to be the best quality mount in the world. There must be things going through your mind. So what needs to happen to this to make it worthy of being on display?
Well, it is a quandary when we receive artifacts that came to you in a certain way and tell a story, like the French excellence medal of his wife. I mean, that is sort of part of the story as well. But yes, they've been glued down in a terrible way. And I think the heart of the story is putting those memorial crosses with the medals and the photo and kind of bringing the whole story together. So that is our first order of business, is to put these pieces together with the photograph and the memorial crosses and keep them together.
A medal mounter thinks they should be done.
Right. Yeah, we definitely want to do things in a way that is proper and honors the items themselves, the objects themselves. It's sad that they paid so much money to have them glued down, but yeah, as you say, there's definitely remediation that can happen.
So Shara, thank you once again for bringing this wonderful grouping in to Militaria, and hopefully we'll see the two groups reunited quite soon and on display in the museum so that the public can enjoy